Dietary fiber. We're told it's the undisputed champion of human health, right? A biological engine driving everything from protecting your heart to managing your weight. But there's a dark, hidden extreme to this biological marvel, a paradox buried deep within our own digestive tracts. What actually happens when the ultimate health food becomes a microscopic thief? Or worse, a physical death trap? Let's dive right into this explainer and find out. Imagine the emergency room. A 45-year-old woman arrives, and she's writhing in severe colicky pain. Her abdomen is dangerously distended. She's vomiting, nauseous. For 5 long days, she's been trapped in absolute agony. Her body is completely rejecting any intake whatsoever. The clinical signs are flashing red, pointing to an imminent, catastrophic failure inside her gastrointestinal tract. The medical team is totally puzzled. She has no prior history of gastrointestinal surgery, which is usually the big red flag for an obstruction of this magnitude. Yet her bowels are completely paralyzed. She's trapped in a state of obstipation. Nothing is moving. Gases, liquids, solids, everything is just halted. Something inside her has formed a total impenetrable blockade, and the pressure is building by the hour. So they order a contrast-enhanced CT scan to hunt for the obstruction. They're literally racing against the clock before her intestine ruptures, and the images reveal an absolute shock. It's not a tumor, it's not an inflammatory stricture, it is a massive, rigid physical blockage. And the culprit? Pears, an extensive quantity of pears, consumed just 48 hours before the nightmare began. The scan highlights this brutal clinical reality. Dilated, swollen loops in her small intestine form a severe transition point in the right lower abdomen. A hard, dehydrated mass is literally choking the life out of her gut. It's firmly impacted within the small intestinal lumen, lodged precariously just 60 centimeters from the ileocecal valve. Now, this terrifying phenomenon actually has a name in the medical world. It's called a phytobezoar. Basically, it's a rock-like compaction of foreign, indigestible plant materials. We're talking cellulose, tannins, pectin. When these resilient plant fibers fail to break down, they weave together, they dehydrate. They form this dense, concrete-like mass that simply cannot pass through the narrow, winding corridors of the human gut. So how does healthy fruit turn into a deadly blockade? Well, it takes a perfect, catastrophic storm of biological failures. It starts with hypoacidity in the stomach, low acid levels failing to chemically disintegrate the plant matter. Then add inadequate mastication, which is just a fancy way of saying she didn't chew her food completely. Combine that with sluggish, impaired motility. Slowly, this undigested fibrous mass travels down to the narrow terminal ileum, where it compacts and stops. As terrifying as this is, it's incredibly rare. Phytobezoars account for a mere 0.4 to 4.8% of all mechanical small bowel obstructions. They're like clinical ghosts, elusive targets that mask themselves as routine gastrointestinal emergencies. Because they are so statistically improbable, they often go totally undiagnosed until the patient is literally already on the surgical table, fighting for their life. Section 1. The Gut's Hidden Engines. To understand how dietary fiber can weaponize against us, we first have to witness its biological power when things actually go right. It's the dual nature of our diet. On one hand, soluble fiber absorbs water, forming a viscous, soothing gel that slows glucose absorption and lowers cholesterol. Then we have insoluble fiber. It doesn't dissolve. Containing rigid plant cellulose, it acts as the gut's structural broom, adding bulk and mechanically sweeping waste right through the system. Deep in the dark, acidic ecosystem of your colon, specialized anaerobic bacteria feast on this material. Through microbial fermentation, they produce short-chain fatty acids, acetate, propionate, and butyrate. These incredible molecules trigger the exocytic release of GLP-1 and PYY hormones. Yes, the very same GLP-1 pathway targeted by modern pharmaceutical weight loss drugs is naturally activated by fiber. It suppresses appetite. It regulates blood sugar. It's a metabolic miracle. But this miraculous engine is incredibly fragile. It's a delicate, microscopic balance easily tipped into chaos. If you introduce extreme amounts of certain plant compounds, they will quietly sabotage your biology. The breakdown of this delicate balance can happen invisibly, without you feeling a thing, until the damage is already done. Section 2. The Invisible Nutrient Thief. The danger isn't always a physical blockage. Sometimes the threat operates entirely in the shadows. Diets overwhelmingly high in unfermented grains and legumes introduce massive amounts of phytic acid, or IP6, into your digestive tract. This molecule is a potent chelating agent. In the scientific and nutritional world, it's pretty much known as the ultimate anti-nutrient. Phytic acid is a relentless magnet for metals. As it passes through your system, it violently binds to the crucial minerals in your meal, creating insoluble complexes. It hijacks iron, zinc, calcium, magnesium, manganese. It literally steals these elements right out of your system before your body can absorb them. Over time, this invisible theft leads to severe, debilitating malnutrition and chronic fatigue. Thankfully, clinical science offers a rescue from this microscopic thief. Interventions like food dephytonization, soaking, sprouting, and fermenting, or adding phytase enzyme supplements. Phytase acts like a microscopic key. It systematically breaks down those IP6 bonds, unlocking the phytic acid prison and releasing those vital, life-sustaining micronutrients back into your bloodstream. Section 3. Surviving the fiber paradox. From microscopic thievery, we return to the visceral horror of the operating room. For our 45-year-old patient, conservative treatments like fasting, intravenous fluids, and gastric decompression had completely failed. To save her life, surgeons perform an emergency laparoscopy, a 4-centimeter enterotomy, slicing directly into her inflamed, dilated small intestine to surgically extract a hard 30 by 30 millimeter mass of compacted, undigested pear. The enterotomy was closed transversely. Her body slowly healed. 3 months later, she was finally symptom-free. She survived, but her ordeal leaves behind a stark, permanent warning about the immense physical power of the food we consume, a chilling reminder of how quickly the mundane act of eating can spiral into a surgical emergency. Look, fiber is an absolute necessity. It's your biological shield against cardiovascular disease and diabetes, but it demands respect. These are the rules of survival. You must hit the 25 to 30 gram daily threshold, but slowly, to avoid shocking your gastrointestinal tract. You must hydrate heavily to help form that protective soluble gel. And above all, you must weaponize the mechanical breakdown of your own teeth. Masticate thoroughly. You have to chew your food. Fiber is the ultimate engine of human longevity. It fuels our microbiomes and protects our hearts. But it leaves us with a chilling vulnerability every single time we sit down to eat. If you don't chew your next healthy snack, could it build a deadly trap inside you? Think about that next time you take a bite. That concludes this explainer on the fiber paradox. Until next time.